But especially with World War II, we're dealing with a conflict where there's been like thousands of books written about just one battle, one general, one single Stalingrad has like, so much academia has been covered on just that one thing. When you take all of that and you put it all together, then you have us be like, let's talk about World War II for 40 minutes.
It's the dichotomy of man. And I think that's why World War II is kind of like my favorite war, because it strips it all down. Like, it's one thing to talk about 100,000 people 5,000 years ago. There are people alive today who were around when that stuff happened.
Right. Yeah.
It's a modern war. Mm-hmm. And he plays on the common people's fears. After like his trial, he basically said like that I marched on Berlin. Yeah, I did all those things. But those things aren't crimes, because I care about Germany and getting Germany back to where it was and improving the lives. And if you're going to call that a crime, then I guess I'm guilty as charged. And then the crowd roars and everyone claps. And it like, I make a joke, but that really is what happened.
Welcome everybody to the Black and White History Podcast. We are your hosts, Christian and...
For many years, I have said that World War II is my favorite war. And it's not because I didn't know it was bad. It's because like...
No, it was bad.
I know it was...
favorite war.
I knew it was bad.
Not because it was bad.
No, I knew it was bad. But like... I'm Jordan. The more I actually like researched it as like an adult, I think the turning point, honestly, was like having kids. And like the idea of like having a favorite war. Like, if you got to have one, at least it should be like the most ideologically pure, blah, 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 whatever. But it's like, man, there's like a theme of like, there's just no scenario where war is good. Like, there's just no scenario. Like, justified, sure. Necessary, I think there's always a way to do diplomacy, but sometimes the rubber has to meet the road and some people just need to get punched in the face. Like, that's just the reality of the world. But man, and it's not even because like people like volunteer or get drafted and have to fight. It's like the destruction and chaos that happens to people who we neither side wants to be involved in, like the civilian population, the kids and all that stuff. Like, if you're going to have a war, it's going to affect everybody. We'll get into it. Whatever.
Very deep start.
Yeah, sorry I'm downer, but it's World War II. Surprise, it's World War II. That happened.
Yeah.
We won.
This is well.
Thanks for watching.
This is going to be a long one.
As well,
we're going to do probably a few different parts.
Yes.
Probably dedicate this episode probably to just the whole build-up to the war and everything leading up to it. This is one of those, I was thinking about this. It's kind of true with like every war, I guess, but especially with World War II, we're dealing with a conflict where there's been like thousands of books written about just one battle and stuff like that. So one general, one single Stalingrad has like, so much academia has been covered on just that one thing. So it's like, when you take all of that and you put it all together, then you have us be like, let's talk about World War II for 40 minutes.
Some stuff happened. Stephen Ambrose wrote at least 3.
Yeah.
Which I remember reading, specifically Stephen Ambrose's books about D-Day, and like, I don't know if he's the most well-known World War II writer.
Mm-hmm. What's that guy's name? Ron Chernow? He's like one of those guys, whatever. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about
this. We're going to have to cut all this anyways. Let's just move on.
But he's like one of those guys where, speaking of just exhausting every single second of every conflict or of every person's career and like history and things like that, where he's like one of those guys where you see those books where it's just called like Grant. It's like Ulysses S. Grant, and it's like this thick.
Volume
and I'm
1.
like, who reads? Like, I try to like do as much as I can with the time that I have, but I'm like, there's just some people just get so deep into it to where they just write, just fat, like 1,200 page things. So anyway,
I don't have 10 years to read this 4,000 page volume on Erwin Rommel.
Yeah, right.
I don't have it. Many people do, like Civil War and World War II.
Yeah.
It was a war of like personalities. As much as it was about ideologies, it was, and I don't know if it was like that at the time. I think there was a lot because media and like film and recording and mass radio broadcast to the public and all that was more well established. But like individual personalities, like you felt more like you knew Adolf Hitler and Stalin and Churchill and all the leaders, and like saw lots of pictures of them and saw videos of them doing stuff like shortly after they did them. So it was a more personal conflict, I think. And the professional journalism class was well established. Like it was a truly modern war.
Yeah.
With all the bad that goes with that. I'm going to be a downer about this one. I'm sorry. It's a downer. It's a big war. We did it again. We said it was the war to end all wars. We're not doing this one again. And like, people were still alive to see them do it again and worse.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, but the lead up is very important. It's really important because remember how we just talked about World War One? Okay.
Yeah, you can't talk about World War II without talking about World War One.
Yeah. To go forward in time, we first have to go back.
Yeah.
To really understand, and like this will be multiple parts, so like multiple hours, but like the whole point of this is to more fully understand what has happened in American history and like world history. So we kind of have to get into not the deep weeds, but like we have to get into some weeds. So prepare for some weeds. So the Treaty of Versailles, it happens at the end of World War One. Germany is essentially shoulders all of the blame for World War One, and they lose, and so they have to pay the piper. All of Europe is basically destroyed. Food production is in shambles. Production in general is in shambles. So now we got to rebuild this thing. So the Treaty of Versailles basically says, Germany, it's your fault that this happened. Your belligerence, your warmongering is what caused so much worldwide suffering and death. And you're going to not just pay like monetary damages in like a legal sense, but we're going to reduce your military. We're going to prevent you from rearming yourself. We're going to reduce your army, your navy, Air Force. We're going to take like something like almost 20% of your land. And it's not just like a random piece of land. It's the land that you get all your coal from. So we are impacting your economic system.
So it was like over $700 billion in reparations on just that side of it alone.
Which is basically a made up number. Like they don't have that much money. And the
$700 billion in 1920.
Yeah. So, so a gajillion
100 years out.
A $1 billion. So Germany cannot pay that much money. And the people who drew up the Treaty of Versailles knew this. Like, can they actually, because you can't get blood from a stone. I can say you owe me $11 billion. And if you ain't got it, I ain't getting it. Like you can't make it out of nothing. Well, you can, but it has worse consequences. So they're like, okay, they're drafting this. They put in some provisions where like, okay, you can make payments on it and, shell game and all this, that, and the other. Because remember, like we're leading into the 20s where things are going to be good. Things are booming. And so they're like, you don't have any money now.
For America.
For us. Things are good for us. Things suck for you. But you started this, so it's your fault. But like, I can see how they set up avenues for Germany to be able to theoretically pay these debt payments, these reparation payments. So that's a Treaty of Versailles. It's crushing to Germany, not just economically, but also like culturally. Because the Germans like have a long history. They're a proud nation. They came up out of nothing, or like out of Austria-Hungary, and developed their own nation and were very small. And in a relatively short amount of time, they were able to basically fight the entire world and almost win. And then they lost, but like almost winning. It would be like the Cleveland Browns getting to like, are they in the AFC? Yeah, the AFC Championship. Like they lost. They didn't get to the Super Bowl, but they made it to the AFC Championship. That's crazy. Like there's no way that should be possible. So there's that half of it. The other half of it is kind of baked into the Treaty of Versailles is Woodrow Wilson's League of Nations. Because and I think his intentions and ideas were noble. He basically said, look, we're in a modern era. We have manufacturing. We have international trade. The system that we have is creating a lot of prosperity for us. So there's not a need for for us to have resource wars, basically. Because that's what war boils down to, is you have your group of people and you don't have enough land because you need land to grow food. So you look at your weak neighbor and say, you have a lot of land, I'm going to take it. And then that's how war starts. But we have enough resources and infrastructure and trade, so we don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. We can import rice from China and Japan to feed us, and wheat from Ukraine, and oil from North Africa, and we can make this whole system work. There's enough for everyone to get by and have a good quality of life. So that's the League of Nations was basically an organization designed to say, if there's an international conflict between countries, this is a place where we can hash it out. And I call it the Security Council because that's what it is in the United Nations. I don't remember if it was a Security Council, like the 5 biggest powers. So US, France, Britain, Russia, and one other, I don't know. But
Japan, maybe?
It might have been Japan, actually.
They were in it.
Because they were in it. Yeah. So,
but the US didn't even join it, though. So
they didn't, but this was the plan.
Yeah.
So the 5 most powerful countries will advise the rest of the world on how to deal with these international disputes without having a war. The whole point is to avoid having war because we don't need to. We have resources, blah, blah, blah. And so the League of Nations was sort of the framework to allow the prevention of something like Germany and World War I happening again. That was the intent. So the League of Nations and the Treaty of Versailles set Germany and really Japan. Let's pause for a second.
Sure.
Japan kind of gets left out and sort of doesn't show up in World War II until Pearl Harbor, because World War II is America's war, so we don't care what the other countries were doing. And we really like to focus in on the European theater because, well, we came from Europe and we know these people and we just fought a war with these people.
You mean
and
just like the narrative? How it's,
how people like understand it. Like,
I mean, yeah, I would say like what everybody knows about World War II is Pearl Harbor and Nazis.
Yes.
And then everything else is like...
And then we beat the Nazis and then we nuked Japan and then that was it.
And then, I guess, Well, so just Japan and Nazis, I guess. Not enough people know about Mussolini.
No.
Or
this is all his fault. He started this whole thing.
Yeah, right.
It was. Well, technically the Bolsheviks started the whole thing, but yeah, whatever.
He gets things rolling before...
Does Italy... I thought Japan did their expansion into Manchuria, and then that gave...
like the 30s. But Mussolini became the prime minister in like 1921 or something.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Then yes, we should start with him.
So,
see, it's weird because they're like connected, but also not.
Yeah.
Like Japan kind of already felt like the strong dog gets the food. They kind of always worked like that.
Yeah, well, I would say like Italy and Germany. So in World War I, you have like Austria-Hungary, and then Germany is like the big brother, kind of thing. In World War II, you have Italy, and then Germany's the big brother.
Yes.
And then you just have like Japan that's like, hey, I want to, and then they form a tri-pack thing. So we'll get into that in a minute. But with Treaty of Versailles, it makes sense seeing, the fallout of Germany because they were the ones like directly affected from it. With Italy, they were actually on the Allies.
Yes.
So eventually. So it was kind of like a what's in it for me kind of thing. And like, okay, well, Britain and the US are like, if you join us, we'll make sure you get all this extra land that you guys think that you're owed and all that. So like, okay, good, sounds good. So they are now on the Allies, and then they win, and then they get some of what they thought they should get or promised, or I mean, some of it's kind of things get lost in interpretations and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But point is, they didn't get what they thought that they deserved in terms of extra land and stuff like that.
They get the table scraps from Britain and France mostly. Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, their economy is still completely wrecked.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a huge just civil unrest and everything. And so you have Benito Mussolini, who was originally a pacifist. I don't know if you know much about
he was essentially a communist. Like, he was a very socialist. He wasn't communist. He was very, very socialist. He was very left-leaning.
Right. But also like, very much like no military intervention kind of guy. So, and then he was also an elementary school teacher, which is like the weirdest thing about him. But anyway, so
I mean, if you think about it,
Mr. Mussolini,
it's like, it's weird seeing your teacher outside of school.
Yeah.
It's real weird. Yeah. But if you think about it, if anyone's going to be a dictator, like a bunch of 9-year-olds, like you have to rule with an iron fist.
Sure.
Anyways,
Mussolini comes, and then he kind of has a huge, because he sees like, okay, here's the Bolshevik revolution, like the communist revolution, all that stuff happening, and then he sees, more socialist, and all that kind of stuff, and he's like, okay, I want to come up. I don't really like either of these two. Let's come up with what's known as the third way.
Yeah.
So that's where you have the creation of fascism, fascismo.
Yes.
And so it's basically like, a lot of times in modern culture, it's really easy for people to kind of throw out the "you're a fascist because you're on the party that I don't like" kind of thing.
Basically, yeah.
And what they mean when they say you're a fascist is like you're a dictator. But people think like, oh yeah, right wing. Oh yeah, left wing. Like when he makes this third way, it really is a combination of both sides. Like it really is a third way. It's not a right wing thing or a left wing thing, because you have things like, part of like his economic plan and everything is a greatly expanded welfare state.
Yes, it's state control of private industry.
Yeah, so there's corporatism. So I'll touch on that in a second. But like welfare, so which we think today is like, oh, okay, that's like a left wing thing. Universal health care. Okay, it's more of a left wing thing. But then you have like super hardcore nationalism.
Yes.
Okay, that's more of a right wing thing. Greatly expanded military. That's more of a right wing thing. So you have like, it really is like picking things on both sides and then creating this new coalition. So just to kind of, not like it's going to matter, but
and disclaimer for the whole podcast, disclaimer for this whole World War II thing. We don't like Nazis. We don't like fascists. We don't like people who don't like other people because of immutable characteristics. That's just, it's never right to hate someone because of something they can't control or didn't do. It's wrong to hate someone because of who they are. That's wrong. For many reasons. There we are.
There we go. We got the land acknowledgement out of the way.
Yes. And we are sitting on, this would be Nisqually land. Yeah. So, but like, if you think about it, just hear me out. Your country, where you're from, where your family's from, for all of human history, has been very, very important, because it's very difficult and dangerous to move to another place. You have to farm. So if you find a good piece of land that grows good food and sustains you and a family, and it's got water and all that good stuff, weather's nice, that you hang out there. And then your kids hang out there, and your kids' kids, and generations hang out there. And you become a nation. That's your homeland. That's where you're from. It makes sense for you as like a seventh generation, whoever from good farmland, to want your family and the people who live around you to have a good life, and to prioritize your tribe over another tribe on the other side of the mountains. They live different. I don't know them. They do things different. It's not a judgment on better or worse. It's just different. And I know my people and I don't know those people. So we farm for us and you farm for you. And we might trade back and forth, but it's about us. So it's not crazy for what we would call nationalism now, what we've labeled as. That's not, like, at its base, it's not a crazy concept to think my family thought this land was good enough to start a thing and not leave. That's reasonable. No matter what nation, it's okay to feel like where you're from is good. Okay? And it's also fair to say, hey, we all have resources, and if someone doesn't have a resource and they need it, and they're part of our tribe, to help them and give them things if they are having a hard time or they can't, we don't want anyone to starve. We want people to live and have a good life. So if we all together can give them what they need to have a good life, and they can give us what we need to have a good life, that makes sense. That's good and noble and right. We would call that like a socialism thing. So these two, right wing, left wing, nationalism, socialism, their base concepts make sense intuitively as, like, if you're a good person, you want your land to be good and your people to be healthy. That's fine. I think now it's been poisoned by what is about to happen under these labels. Because it's not just about the outcomes, it's about how you get there. And if you have to kill a bunch of people to make sure that your country is the best, then that's not good. And if you have to steal a bunch of stuff from people to make sure that everyone gets everything, that's not good either. So how you get there is what poisons these ideologies. I think the ideologies themselves at their core are good and noble, but when people get a hold of good ideas, we turn them into less good ideas sometimes.
Sure.
So there's that. Cut and paste that wherever that fits.
That's fine. So yeah, he's not actually in office yet. He kind of starts this Black Shirts movement thing and does what's known as the March on Rome. And so he gets all his people to show up, literally do a march on Rome to face the prime minister, or it was like a monarchy. I guess
it was both.
Still, yeah.
They had a parliament and a king.
Yeah. So to the parliament
and they both sucked.
Yes. Well, yeah. A lot of this unrest is because of them, basically. So,
basically.
And he ends up kind of just getting, it's not like a coup, but he does get handed the keys and stuff. And so
he basically goes to the king and is like, hey, all these angry people out here,
right,
they agree with me. And the king's like, I've seen that sort of stuff before. You can be prime minister.
Yeah.
Cool. Do I get to still be king? Sure.
You're right. So yeah, so he becomes prime minister. And yeah, that's the last election, non-election
for a while
that happens until after World War II.
Yeah.
But so you can see how quickly this kind of decays.
Mussolini is, I think, a big thing about Mussolini, and also Hitler, and also Japan, and in some ways, in different ways, also the Allied countries later on, like this idea of national pride and like who we are and who we were and how great we used to be has been taken from us.
Yeah.
And we have to get that back, because look at how our people are suffering and look at how those people are thriving. So the envy and the jealousy of the other people, it motivates both sides. That's what motivated the Bolshevik Revolution.
Right. And so
look at how hard we have it, how little we have, and how fat and rich and lazy those guys are. Let's take it from them. And then the nationalists, same bent. We used to be a great country. We used to be great. See, they got me. He said it himself. So whatever. But like, we used to be great. Now everything sucks. But those guys are living high on the hog on the image of what America, I slipped out, what Italy, what the country, you cut that. They're living high on the image of what the country used to be, and they still live the good life. But we're down here in the trenches having to deal with their decisions. Like, they accepted the Treaty of Versailles. We're on the winning side. Italy's on the winning side, and we got screwed. Like, we bled for this, and we were promised this, and we all got screwed. We're all poor. Our country's in shambles. All our sons and husbands and fathers got killed or maimed in war. You guys up at the top are still fine. So it doesn't matter to you that we didn't get extra land, but it sucks for us. We have to deal with it. We're taking our country back. Yeah.
And yeah, since you mentioned the Russian Revolution happening, that's like, we're like 3 years past that. So the monarch, Victor Emmanuel III is his name. Yes. He really scared of that. And then it was like probably only like 50 years before that was the French Revolution.
Yes.
So as a monarch, there's some, at that point, very recent history of very bad things happening to monarchs. So
I don't have a very good Italian accent, but like, they're chopping people's heads off like Ricky Tick. So let's make some concessions here. As long as I get to sit in the big chair and wear the funny hat, you can run the country. As long as I'm still rich, you can do what you want.
You have the national, and this is kind of like a return to Roman pride kind of thing. The nationalist kind of thing. So you have that. You have, he immediately starts banning all political opposition.
Yes.
Like I said, no like other parties, no elections happening. Installs like a legit secret police, expand the military, and then a total control over media that happens. So all the like the stereotypical things on top of, like I mentioned before, like the expanded welfare and things like that. Because his idea too, which, well, I'll just say for what it is. He says that if you give people, you let the state provide for you, then they're more likely to abide and more likely to obey and more likely to,
which is true,
be controlled. So he wasn't very secretive about that. It wasn't really I'm going to just do this good thing. And, at least Mussolini did like a good thing. He wanted to feed everyone because he just wanted, and it just turned into this ugly thing. Like, no, like he knew what he was doing.
No, it was ugly from the beginning. The thing is, like with resources, if your children are starving and some dude says, I'm going to come help your children not starve, you just have to go with me, and you don't see another option. What is a normal person supposed to do? Like, what would you expect them to do? Like, we prop up the people who stand up on principle and say, no, I'm not going to do it. And that's very easy when you're younger and don't have responsibility for other people who can't do for themselves, like kids and old people, all that stuff, who can't provide for themselves. But when you're a father, a mother, a husband, wife, whatever, and you have responsibility and you can't solve the problem yourself, the strong man comes and says, I'm going to do what needs to be done, and your family is going to be okay. All you have to do is vote yes.
Yeah.
Again, It's not that it's good. It's that it's understandable.
Mhm.
Italy is
feeling very desperate.
It's desperate. This is a war of desperation. We're gonna die. What are we gonna do? Something crazy? Fine. The alternative is dying.
Right.
And even if that wasn't true, the propaganda, the media, the control of the media to perpetuate the message of not just those are the bad guys, but amplifying the fear of if you don't do this, if we don't do this crazy thing that you would never have imagined that we were going to do, if we don't do the crazy thing, if we don't kill these people, if we don't get these people out, then your family is going to suffer for it. You keep people hungry and afraid, they will do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
That's ugly. It's ugly, but it's also true. And what's also ugly and true is that people who want power know that about people.
Mm-hmm.
That is how that happens.
Right.
So learn how to grow food and don't be afraid.
Yeah. So, I mean, even with that, so he has corporatism,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, I guess easy way to look at it is you have like Marxism, where it's like workers' rights, like extreme workers' rights kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. And then you have, you know, a total free market capitalism where there's no government intervention.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just up to let the cards fall where they may kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have corporatism, where it's like he starts kind of, it's like a kind of both,
it's
both and thing. So it's like rolling. Basically, he has everyone organized into different industries and things. So there's like a whole steel industry. There's an agriculture industry. There's a whatever this industry. There's like, let's just say like 5 different things, and everyone just kind of picks where they go, kind of thing. So
you're not free, but you're not
you can still own things.
The free market exists,
like,
but only in these narrow lanes.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be an artist, that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a steel worker or a farmer, so you get to pick that. It's like being a child. If communism is like being a dog, and you just get fed what you get fed, and capitalism is like being a free person who can like succeed or fail however you want to, and it's kind of on you, and no one's going to help you. Then like Mussolini's system was more like being like a child.
Yeah.
Where like,
well, it's like, you know, if I tell my kids, if I just say, oh yeah, go out and do whatever you want, they're going to do something I'm not going to want them to do. So instead, you have the illusion of choice. Yeah. Well, you want to read, or do you want to go play over here?
I made a choice. Yeah, but I'm the puppet master, tiny person, like, which is fine if you make the people. It's not fine to do that to other people.
Yeah.
Thanks. So that's Benny.
Yep. All right.
Oh, little Benny.
Germany then. With Hitler, he sees a lot of this, what Mussolini's doing, and he's like, ooh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because he fought in World War I and everything, and then
he got mustard gas.
Yes. He sees a lot of what Mussolini's doing, and he's like, ooh, that's a good idea. Ooh, that's a good idea. But at first, he's actually against socialism and all that stuff, and he was sent. You have the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and he is sent as like a spy by the government to kind of keep an eye on them.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Interesting?
That is interesting.
And so that's where he gets like all these ideas, and he's over there and he's like, ooh, that's a good point.
That's actually not a bad plan.
And so, and they're meeting, this is small, so like they're meeting in like beer halls.
Yeah,
like
coffee shops.
Yeah, little county club stuff. So this is not like at all a big movement, but it's kind of like making a tiny bit of noise, enough for the government to kind of be like, what's going on over there? Go check it out. Mm-hmm. So then, and he sees that, and he's like, these are really good points, but they just don't really have a leader. Like, I think I can run this better than they do. And then at the same time, he's starting to catch wind of Mussolini and everything. And so he ends up joining them and starts kind of building his own type of coalition, very much purposely inspired from Mussolini, even to the point where he does his own march and shows up and tries to, overthrow the monarchy of Germany. But a little different with Hitler. Yeah. Instead of him just getting handed the keys like Mussolini, he gets tossed in jail.
Yes. Which ironically kind of elevated his platform even more.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's where he writes Mein Kampf.
Yes.
And stuff.
So yeah, the thing about Hitler that is interesting, we're just going to be honest about it. We're going to give the devil his due. He was very charismatic. He was not a stupid man. Mm-hmm. He was very strategic. He was, like you said, he was in World War I. He was, by all accounts, I mean, not like a heroic soldier, but like a good soldier. Mm-hmm. And
well, that's a good credential to have, where it's
you can kind of see how the paths like parallel between Hitler and Mussolini, because they see like the Treaty of Versailles, and the Treaty of Versailles, like on the one hand, Italy gets screwed and they're on the winning side. Germany is on the losing side and they get screwed, and like Sure, rightfully so. The Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations and all that stuff happens, and Hitler is on the one hand, he says there's no way that this great Germany that rose from nothing was just like fairly beaten. Mm-hmm. So he's convinced that basically politicians and weasels kind of saw a way to get out of the war and like kind of enrich themselves or secure their positions at the expense of the German people. So there's like the element of betrayal. Mm-hmm. And then the second part is similar to Mussolini, like we used to be great. We built ourselves up from nothing and now everything sucks. We need to get back. We can get back to this. This is how we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you have to lose type of thing. So similar to Mussolini. And so, like you said, when he sees Mussolini actually work,
yeah, right.
That is an emboldening thing. Hey, now's the time. Mm-hmm. And also both of them really hated communists.
Yes.
And the communists were demonstrably, this is kind of how it even got a foothold, because you have the established order, which they're rich and everyone else is poor and no one's happy about that. And then you have the communists where they kill a bunch of people and they're really radical and scary and they're completely overturning the established economic order. And we don't really like that. Like, we understand and kind of like your theory, but how you do it is not cool with us. So that really scares the people and it scares the leaders. When Mussolini comes in with his third way, mm-hmm. and then when Hitler kind of copies that and says, hey, it plays to the fears of the establishment. We hate communists just like you do. Okay, we're going to give you a little bit more leash because you're nothing and domestic and we could probably crush you because you're small. So we're not as worried about you than we are of the communists who actually overthrew the royal family, like killed the royal family, overthrew the government, and are now in power. So he played them against them, using the communists as sort of like a human shield almost. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll take out the communists. Cool, that's fine. Okay, now we want power. Well, this is a different problem.
Right. Comes out of prison, becomes much more closely aligned with Mussolini. And I mean, there's a whole, we probably don't have a ton of time to get into it, but one thing leads to another.
So things happen.
And then he ends up getting, this is kind of the problem when you get into like third and fourth and like fifth parties, mm-hmm. all like being equal, is you get someone who only gets, 30% of the vote ends up getting elected as prime minister and things like that.
Pluralities are what allow relatively fringe parties.
Yes, right.
Because you could have, just like we talked about voting, you can have 1 million really dedicated people and 100% of your million people vote, mm-hmm. and the other side has 5 million or 7 million or 10 million, but only 10% of them vote. Mm-hmm. You win because your smaller group of more dedicated people, more motivated people, all vote.
Yeah. So it's basically what happens when he gets elected as chancellor.
Yes.
So he comes out, he kind of continues building this new party that he's kind of overtaken, mm-hmm. and everything, and then
he plays on the common people's fears. Like I was listening to after like his trial, he basically said like, yeah, I did all the things that I marched on Berlin. Yeah, I did all those things, but those things aren't crimes because mm-hmm. I care about Germany and getting Germany back to where it was and improving the lives. Yeah. And if you're going to call that a crime, then I guess I'm guilty as charged. And then the crowd roars and everyone claps. And it like, I make a joke, but that really is what happened. Mm-hmm. Like, the police were even like, we gave them more leeway and we gave their opponents less protection because we believed in what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, we agreed with him, so we gave him more room. So like the crimes that he committed would have gotten him put in prison for many, many years, and he got out in like a few months.
Yeah, it was supposed to be years, and it was like 9 months or something. So
just enough time to do a book.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So he becomes chancellor in 1933, and then basically really soon after, there's a big fire that burns down
at the Reichstag.
Yes. So the parliament.
Die Reichstag.
Yep.
You have to say very angry Reichstag. Whoa. So, it's their parliament building.
Yes. So it gets burned down by this, I guess, Dutch communist. There's kind of like, right. Was it, or was it?
We don't know, because it could have been. It could have been, but I think the prevailing theory is that this was a false flag.
Right. It seems
oddly convenient.
Yes, because then that's like, of course, it's Hitler's, what he says is like his greatest enemy right now anyway, is the communists. Yeah. And so he uses that as leverage to tell the monarch and the rest of parliament for them to suspend or be able to jail political opponents who might have something to do with it, or maybe they're, basically it's like a whole blackmail thing in order to get to more power, and starts stripping Parliament's constitutional rights, because now that he's able to have more control on, these types of things, then he just uses it to his advantage. So it is just oddly convenient.
It is oddly convenient that this singular event now allows this very charismatic person to have basically ultimate power.
And then he also starts creating secret police too at the same time, to start spying on political opponents and things who might have had something to do with it and everything.
Now he has a pretext for it. Yeah. See, they burned down our parliament building.
That's where we're at there. Japan.
Yes. How do we get to Japan from Germany? Do we go east or do we go west? Yeah. I think if we go east, it's closer. So we're going to go east across and to Japan. So Japan, if you didn't know, Japan and China have had a long storied rivalry. Yeah. They don't like each other. And basically, Japan is an island nation. And like all island nations, that means that as your population grows, you don't have as much land to grow food. So your people will start to starve.
And Japan was pretty closed off from the world.
They were.
I don't know how deep we want to go into this, but it was...
Well, it's a factor. So until like the 1850s, they were basically that was like samurai times.
Yeah, they were still in samurai times.
It was medieval times in 1850, basically. And so the United States Navy basically kicked down the door and said, you're going to trade with the rest of the world, or we're going to destroy Tokyo. Yeah. And they're like, well, we don't want Tokyo to be destroyed, so I guess we're trading with the world now. And again, remember, culturally, it's an honor-shame culture. So a foreign invader coming literally out of nowhere, like they knew the US existed, but they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with you. They come over the horizon with big metal ships with giant cannons, and they force you to surrender immediately without a fight. That's a massive shame. And
they'll remember that for later.
Japan will remember that. Japan disliked that. Japan had been looking down their nose at China for dealing with the British and the Americans and trading. And they had economic growth because of it, but also like their landmass is so much bigger. Whatever. But the Japanese loved their way of life. They were very proud of it, and they viewed letting some foreigners come in and start telling you how to run your house as dishonorable, not good. And so when it happens and their front door gets kicked in and they give up without a fight, that is a huge blow to their national honor. And it sparks off a whole cascade of the Meiji Restoration, where basically the samurai times are done because they were all run by individual warlords in different provinces in Japan. And now they have a more Western government. They have a constitution. They have a prime minister. They still have the emperor. Yeah. But the emperor is less, I mean, arguably, like, we're not in the Japanese history, but like the political power of the emperor is now demonstrably lower because now we have a constitution. And now we have a parliament. I mean, you don't want to get into Japanese politics, man. Because they just assassinated anyone that they didn't like.
Yeah, I mean,
like off the jump, they started killing people. Because that's just how they did it. Because like, how did we do it in medieval Europe? Well, we just assassinate people.
Well, I just mean like I don't know if you know much about like Shintoism.
Vaguely.
Okay, so it's basically the national identity of Japan is looking at the emperor as like an actual divine.
Yes, he is. He is not human. He is divine representation.
Right. So it's not like more so than like the highest level of a monarch. Like this is like miles ahead. So like they are like, he's like a god.
Like you can't touch him. You can't look at him.
And so the whole honor shame thing coming from that, because I think that starts really because of what happened, like ending samurai times and then being like dramatically coerced into being forced or
at gunpoint.
To open up to the rest of the world and to Western
to give up what you've been doing for 1,000 years.
Yeah. So you have that's kind of aggravates the idea of honor shame in national pride to a point where it's like, oh, we have to do everything we possibly can to honor the emperor.
Yes.
So I mean, yes, there's like a parliament, a constitution and stuff, but I think there's also just like an extra weird thing.
There is.
Where like the emperor is still like above that, just their national identity.
Yeah.
Like,
what I mean,
they have laws.
Yes.
And they have leaders.
They always did.
Yeah.
But I think what the
at least that's how I've
I think you're right. You are right. Like the emperor being basically like a national symbol, and like we think of like the the Queen of England as being a figurehead. Like, she has very little actual political power, but she has tremendous social power. Like, the representation of the country's well-being and its spirit is in the emperor or the queen, not the prime minister. So that's true and fair. I think the Meiji Restoration, now being forced to open trade, the emperor allowed it.
Right. So I guess that's where it's like, okay, well, if he'd allowed it, then
that's where you get the split.
Okay.
That's where you get the fracture of the unity behind the emperor, because we're an honor shame culture. You just allowed foreigners to kick in the door, and you talked about all the time, like, this is Japan, this is how we do things. We're warriors. This is what we do. And then we get conquered immediately. And now we're just like them. We're not like us anymore in a very short period of time. In 50 years, they went from medieval times to essentially modern times. And yes, the emperor is still the emperor, but now the cracks have started to form of like, well, how could the emperor allow that? Not questioning the importance of it, questioning it's a crisis of faith to a portion of the Japanese people in a sense.
I guess maybe part of the context though is like, it's a different emperor that is going through into World War II than it was back then. So it's like maybe like a reset kind of thing or something. I don't know.
But then also mix in like human ambition. And again, less than 100 years, like 50, 60 years, we were doing warlords and regional powers that warred against each other. So like, that's still very deeply ingrained in how politics and war actually get done. And so now we're trying to centralize all of that. And then you have these people who say, I'm kind of iffy on this decision anyways. And my daddy and granddaddy and great granddaddy, we've ruled this daimyo forever. So we're going to have a chat about that. So all that to say, now Japan is open. They are involved in World War I.
Well, before that, so I think this is kind of where they kind of regain a lot of their national pride, and like where things get more scary with them is they go to war with Russia.
Yes, the Russo-Japanese war.
And that was before World War I.
It was.
They were like expected to lose.
Because it's Russia.
Right, it's Russia, and it's like a very newly industrialized Japan.
Yes,
and then they steamrolling Russia.
Yes, they forced Russia to capitulate.
Yeah.
And
this is like all trying to see who gets control of Korea and like parts of China and stuff. So anyway, that's not what this episode's about, but yes, go
But
on.
it is context. So you're right. So the Russo-Japanese war happens and the Japanese don't immediately get steamrolled. And that is a regaining of honor, and it spurs them on to see, we are good. We can do it. And then they remember China and they say, all right, we're gonna start poking again. Again, like, please bear in mind the incredibly short timeline. They go from fighting with bows and arrows and swords to fully modernized aircraft carriers. It's less than 100 years. It's crazy.
Right.
So against their will, they did not choose to do this. They were forced to do it and then said, fine, we're going to do it way better than all of you. And they still kind of do that sometimes in some areas. So anyways, World War I happens. The Japanese see this as a perfect opportunity to expand the empire. So they start taking parts of China and islands, Korea, all that good stuff. The Japanese run into the same problem as the Italians did with the Treaty of Versailles, and Europe and Russia get the lion's share of the spoils, and Japan is kind of cut out. Like, they get some things, but they're mostly cut out. So that's another honor hit. Hey, we had an alliance, we fought and bled, and we took all this by ourselves because we're so isolated. We did all this by ourselves. We held off and conquered a lot of German colonies in the Pacific, and now they're just yours now, or they're not just ours. Like, where's our empire? So that's another hit to their honor. That's another hit to their pride. And if we have seen anything about what Japan does, when you insult them, they will double and triple down. And that's basically what they did. So Manchuria, again, like, island nation, limited food supply, increasing population, increasing resource needs, because they are modernized now from 0 to 100 real quick. They need more stuff. And Manchuria is a particularly juicy target, which is a province in China. It's very resource rich. The Japanese have had like soldiers in Manchuria for a while at this point. This is in the late mid to late 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they've had soldiers in Manchuria for a while, but hadn't fully annexed it necessarily. And now this is where sort of the interplay and intrigue and politics within Japan, because the Manchurian soldiers and generals that were stationed over there kind of went rogue and decided to fully take Manchuria, not just like keep their outpost. They took the whole thing.
Well, yeah, it kind of gets, again, this is like probably a false flag thing where they had a train go through Manchuria that explodes.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, like Japan did.
Yes, there was. That
was like the big kickoff.
There was a standoff type of situation.
And the Japanese train blows up in Manchuria, and then Japan conveniently goes, look, see, this is why we have to take them. And then they...
So, but on the home island, there was a lot of concern about expanding because of the League of Nations. Japan was a member of the League of Nations. And the League of Nations says nation empire building is a no-no. Mm-hmm. We don't do that no more. We negotiate with people. And Japan says, yeah, but we really want Manchuria. So are you going to stop us? And the League of Nations says, no, we're not going to stop you.
It's like they can't. I mean, there's no...
They can't. The League of Nations, obviously it failed, but like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. You can't say every nation is cool and awesome and important and sovereign and you can make all your own decisions, but also you can't make that decision.
Yeah.
You can't make the one decision that everyone eventually wants to make.
Mm-hmm.
You have to double pinky promise you won't do it. And Japan's like, I don't really want to double pinky promise that. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. So, and your own country didn't want that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I have no incentive to follow you.
Yeah.
My people are starving. I don't care about your paper.
Mm-hmm.
Not right, but understandable.
Yeah. So then they just leave, and then
so they're like, we're out.
Yeah. Then so it wasn't just Manchuria. So there's
they went hog wild.
Yeah. The capital at the time was Nanking.
Mm-hmm.
To give like an idea, it's easy for us to, especially like in America, to just think of like the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And be like as some of the worst human crimes, in existence. What's known as the rape of Nanking was so bad that you had, because they were also, having an alliance with Germany, you had Nazis helping Japanese soldiers to go through and take over Nanking, Manchuria and stuff. But the type of like Holocaust that Japan had over Nanking, for example, was so horrific that Nazis there were going, oh, this is too far.
This is too much.
We have to. So they start going in, and you have like someone like John Rabe, is this like this Nazi general or whatever who's in there, and he actually starts trying to rescue citizens and civilians and things like.
But like the rape of Nanking is.
I highly recommend anyone watching this to read the book, The Rape of Nanking. Like it wasn't just, okay, just shove all these people in the gas chamber and just, or go ahead and just start shooting everyone. I mean, it was like going out of their way to find the most detrimental tactics to torture the Chinese people.
Yeah.
And like just ways that would never even thought of.
No.
And it's all because, sorry, I know I'm like,
but
like it's part of it's because of this absolute obsession with the honor shame and the Shintoism of the worshiping the emperor.
Yeah.
And like, this is their duty. And like, you do this or you're not actually part of our national identity anymore.
Yeah.
And
the shame of not doing this for your country, it would be so unbearable that you should kill yourself.
Right. And that was actually better than the surrender.
Yes. It would be way better for you to be dead than for you to not do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to say like the things that they did, but like,
well, there was the one thing you mentioned too the other day, to me, what was it called? With the Japanese experiments.
Oh, Unit 731.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That, okay. How do I want to package this? I'm not saying that killing innocent people it's never right. It is never right and it's never good. And if you're going to genocide someone, like a population, at least don't draw it out, I guess.
Right.
Is like the most I could say. You could snap your fingers and Thanos them out of existence because you hate them so much.
Yeah, that's a one thing.
Fine. If you made it so they never existed, but having a competition to who can kill 100 civilians fastest for fun, like killing people for fun, is a different level.
Yeah.
Throwing babies in the air and then catching them on bayonets. Like, so there's that. Then there's Unit 731. Like we all know about Dr. Mengele in Germany, the Nazi who did experiments and like sewed people together and like experimented on twins to see if one felt pain and the other, like wild evil scientist stuff. And then there's Unit 731 who, like, you know how we know that you will bleed out in like 90 seconds if you lose a leg? Because Unit 731 cut Chinese people's legs off and counted how long it took them to bleed out. And they're like, that's how long it takes. They would boil people alive just to see what would happen. They would freeze off someone's limb, like freeze it solid, and then break it off, like shatter their frozen limb and see, like, did you die? Could you live through that? So like,
it's this weird,
like hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, it's like this weird headspace of
they're not people.
Right, exactly. It's like they really did view not even just Japanese, non-loyal Japanese people as like, they just aren't, they're just animals. Yeah. Like they're not,
we do experiments on mice.
We are a different specimen than these people. Yeah. So it was like that kind of thing. So obviously, I mean, Japan's a great ally now. I guess, I don't know. We'll get to that, I guess.
They got weird. And you know what? And I said it kind of at the beginning of like, the more I research this, the more like less like rah America, we're stopping bad stuff. Like that's good. But like the overwhelming just like cruelty that people can inflict on each other who didn't do anything. Like this is it's just too much. It's just too much. And so like, I don't know, like that's kind of a self-contained statement, but like understanding how it got to this point. Like it really was the treaty, in my opinion, reasonable people can disagree, but the Treaty of Versailles really was the key point that I would say set the conditions for World War II to happen. And the deeper layer underneath that is, what will people do if they are hungry and afraid? They will do literally the worst things that you can think of. They will think of different worse things and do those things. It's not, we live in a really cushy bubble where we cannot conceive of someone who is normal looking and has a normal job and has a family, and like those people did those things. Human beings like you and me did those things. And if we don't recognize that the capacity for our own darkness, because those evil people that we just talked about, Nazis and Japanese and this, that, and the other, like, and I'm not saying that American hands were clean. We firebombed Dresden. We incinerated hundreds of thousands of innocent people. We dropped the sun on, I mean, they weren't they weren't military targets, but like, we'll get into it more in the war, but like civilian cities, like not military cities. So if we don't acknowledge the potential that each person has in themselves to do such terrible evil, we're doing everyone a disservice. And we're also cheapening what it means to do such high good things. Like the courage it takes to look at something and say, I don't have to do something about that terrible thing, but I'm going to risk myself to stop that. You have to understand it's the dichotomy of man. And I think that's why World War II is kind of like my favorite war, because it strips it all down. Like, it's one thing to talk about 100,000 people 5,000 years ago. There are people alive today who were around when that stuff happened.
Right. Yeah.
It's a modern war.
Cool.
So anyways.
All right. Well, I think that kind of sets the stage.
That's part one
with, the access powers and stuff. We haven't gone into everything else, but now you see at least
there's no World War II yet.
Yeah. We see what the rest of the world is going to be going up against, I guess. Yeah. So, make sure to like and subscribe. Come back next week.
Please come back. I can't tell you it gets better, but it.
Okay. See you for part 2.